Last part, we did a bunch of dumb stuff. This part, we're doing more dumb stuff, including diving into the 2 worst seasons in the entirety of Lightning Speed. Oh boy, I am not ready for this at all. So, what are the worst seasons of Lightning Speed, you ask? Well, they're undeniably seasons 4 and 5. Why? Well, to get to the bottom of that, we have to start with Season 4, Episode 1, Down to Size. This is the episode that features the mouse people. Jake, Rose, and Rita go out to investigate a rumored Dahlia base, only to get themselves shrunk down to the size of mice, an animal that Jake is deathly afraid of for no real reason because haha funny. They then find an entire sophisticated civilization of mice that even have their own monarchy. They get captured by the Royal Mouse Guard, and Jake is ordered by the Mouse King to marry his daughter, the Mouse Princess Aspero, which totally isn't a lazy play on the name Despero. No, sir, I would never do that, no way. Anyway, Jake eventually finds out that Asper doesn't want to marry him, so they get everyone together and escape with the Mouse Royal Guard on their tails. They finally get back to Naomi, who transforms them back to normal size and somehow makes Asper a human to then join the Lightning Speed team, because why not? Everyone's doing it, right? Episode 2, The Villain Connection. Remember the Wonder Girl series I keep bringing up? This is where I shoved the villains from that series into Lightning Speed because I couldn't be bothered to think of more villains, apparently. Literally, all that happens is the villains from the Wonder Girl series show up and make themselves known. That's it. We have Goopy, the shapeshifter that looks like an overgrown booger, Greevil, the diminutive magician that's either insane or stupid, Greevil's henchwoman and horrible pun, Vanna Smite, the fake Wonder Girl that has the same powers as the Wonder Girls, Primrose, and Ellie's sister, Kat, because yes, Ellie was from the Wonder Girl series too. That's all. Nothing else. Moving on. Episode 3, Gabe the INUKI. I once made a post on Tumblr called Every Episode of Lightning Speed 1 Summarized in One Sentence, which I'll link in the description because it's still one of my finest works. You want to know what I wrote for this episode? 4-3, we're all going to go to Antarctica to get back the evil dictator because he's the only one that can beat the ice monsters plaguing a small town in Oklahoma. So in this episode, Greevil creates ice monsters and the only one that can defeat them is Fireman Gabe. Big problem though, Gabe is currently playing dictator in Antarctica. The team goes back to Antarctica to get Gabe back and are almost all killed. At the last minute, though, Gabe has a sudden unexplained, completely out of nowhere turnaround and defends his team, rejoining them once again. There you go. Episode over. Episode 4, Disaster in DUBOSE. If you run really fast around a tornado, it'll just stop spinning and everything will be fine. Trust me. In this episode, DUBOSE gets hit with multiple tornadoes and Jake runs really fast around all the tornadoes to stop them. Naomi also gives Jake a wrist communication device that can also instantly transform him into black lightning, so that's a thing too. Also, my summary says that DUBOSE High was completely destroyed by the tornado. That makes me laugh, because no, it absolutely wasn't. Straight up, I was lying. Ouch. Episode 5, The Battle for Dodontia. Actually, we're done here. Have a nice day, everyone. Happy 10th anniversary of Lightning Speed. I have to talk about this, don't I? So, in this episode, the Wonder Girls decide that they want to take down Amital in the desert place, and the Lightning Speed team wants to help them even though the Wonder Girls don't want them to. Nonetheless, they end up working together and... Wait. Even so, when the revolution fails and the group is captured by the Wonder Girls... What?! Did I take something out of the summary and forget to replace it, or did I actually forget to write a thing here? Well, I guess the Wonder Girls and the Lightning Speed team are captured by some unknown someones, then. The Wonder Girls are able to save Jake, but they can't save anyone else because potatoes. Then Marilyn appears, and one of the Wonder Girls shoots Jake. Okay, so remember the Wonder Girl series? I don't know how you could forget it at this point, actually. The Wonder Girl series had a point where Marilyn confronted the Wonder Girls and told them that they had to kill Jake or they'd all be killed. I don't remember the dirty details of it, but one of them, Lizzie, also did a thing I can't remember. Anyway, Marilyn reappeared in front of Jake, Christina, Maggie, Lilac, and Lizzie and reasserted herself. Christina, Maggie, and Lilac said they weren't going to do it, but Lizzie caved and shot Jake and killed him. Yep, Jake got shot dead. We're chalking this one up on the Jake is dead counter. Yes, that's a counter too. Anyway, that segues us into what should have been part of this episode. Episode 6, Escape from the Dimension of Eternal Suffering. Marilyn takes Jake's corpse through our dead dimension, then revives him so he's not dead anymore and starts torturing him because in her dimension no one can die. Meanwhile, Lizzie leaves for the Villains League and is never heard from again in the Lightning Speed series, while the other Wonder Girls go free the rest of the Lightning Speed team. They then go to Marilyn's dimension, defeat Marilyn, and rescue Jake. End of story, nothing else to be said. This whole thing was dumb. Episode 7, Running from the Government 3. Even though it has nothing to do with the FBI this time. So Jake and the rest of the team are found living without a legal guardian and put into an orphanage. I don't know if that's how the law works, but okay. When Jake tries to actually contact his dad, though, he finds out his dad disowned him literally 2 weeks after he left home. Smooth one, Dad. Furious, Jake heads back to Delmont Square, only to find that his dad was actually secretly evil the whole time and now has a super robot that he plans to use to destroy the entirety of Delmont Square. Jake fights the robot and defeats it, but in the process, he also accidentally finds his mother, who was never actually dead the entire time. Wow, how horrifically convenient and not at all contrived. Episode 8, The Case for Jake. Oh yeah, I forgot something about Episode 7. The whole part where Jake got adopted by this other family from Virginia because I don't even hecking know. Well, in this episode, that other family from Virginia isn't happy and fights Jake's mother in court for custody of Jake. Back when I had no idea how court worked. Anyway, halfway through the case, Emilio bursts into the courtroom and says that the mom from Virginia is actually his other evil stepsister who also goes crazy and kills her entire family before getting killed in the middle of the courtroom by Emilio. There are no consequences to this and absolutely nothing changes in the long run. Good job, me. Oh, also Emilio joins the team. Big surprise. And that's Season 4. Unfortunately, things don't get much better from here. Season 5, Episode 1, The Forgetful Factor. Jake whacks his head on a pipe and gets amnesia, just like in all the old cartoons, only this was supposed to be a serious story, not a comedy. The Villains League then make Jake think he's a supervillain. Something and some other thing happens, Jake attacks Isabel, then gets captured by the FBI, and they somehow, through some means, figure out Black Lightning has blue eyes behind the sunglasses he wears all the time, because I don't even know why they thought they had Black Lightning in their custody, I don't remember. Episode 2, The Blue-Eyed Black Lightning, aka literally the most pointless episode in the entire series. Naomi genetically changes Jake's eye color to throw off the FBI. That's literally all that happens. I'm not even making that up. Episode 3, The Incredible Adventure of Mandy and Isabella. So Mandy and Isabel, through some unexplained means, end up on Uhulu Island. You know, that place that worships Jake now. Also, raise your glass for the first time Mandy's done anything since Season 1. Unfortunately, Mandy and Isabel get captured by the opposite religious faction who still worships the old god and won't accept Jake. They then cross the ocean to go find Jake and kill him. Before they can, though, Jake and Gabe put on an act together where Gabe dressed up like the other god and said he and Jake made peace, which was enough to satisfy the worshippers of the other god and get them to go home. My gosh, these people need Jesus. Episode 4, Henry Lafayette MIA. Lafayette goes missing and Jake decides to play detective as Black Lightning to try to figure out what happened. He gets captured by the FBI, though, and finds out they use Lafayette as bait to lure Jake straight to them, and there's another guy named Harcourt who's leading the operations now. Jake then rescues Lafayette and escapes. This episode was pointless. Episode 5, It's a Wonderful Life, Jake. I'm going to play this one completely straight and just read you the summary I wrote way back when. Jake wakes up one morning to find that the FBI is giving up the search for Black Lightning. For the next few days, Jake has absolutely nothing to do, so he tries to get the FBI to start hunting him again, but it leads to disaster when the FBI finds Black Lightning's brain prober disk. Soon, Ilya is plunged into yet another hopeless dimensional war. Just as the army is about to shoot Jake down, though, Jake jolts up, suddenly finding himself back in the Lightning Speed HQ. It turns out that the entire incident was only a dream that his mind conjured up during a short nap. Jake heads out with a new appreciation for the FBI and all the excitement they give him day after day. I hate it. It's stupid. Episode 6, Jake Speed's Haunted Hotel of Doom. This episode is one of the jankiest episodes in the entire series. Essentially, Jake and his mom take a vacation to some unspecified area of Florida, no mention of Nano being there though, but the hotel they choose is haunted by a ghost that kills people and dumps their bodies in random places. Jake eventually finds a ghost, but it's not the ghost he's expecting. Instead, it's Scylla's ghost, who tells Jake he can revive her by giving her part of his soul. Unfortunately, though, this turns out to be the ghost of Nyla instead, and Jake unwittingly sells his soul to Nyla. Nyla fricks crap up until Jake's mother, of all people, defeats her and gets Jake's soul back into his body in a process that's completely unexplained. Jake and his mother then yeet right on out of there without a second look, and that's the end. How many times can I say this is stupid before it becomes overplayed? Season 5 didn't take as much time as I thought it would. I guess we can go into Season 6 then, since we have the time. Season 6, Episode 1, Jake Speed Behind the Wheel. Jake has to learn to drive from the only certified driving instructor around, Gooby. Even though Jake can already run faster than a car, so why does he even need to know how to drive? Also, why is Goopy the only certified driving instructor Jake can find? I have no idea what the purpose of this episode even was. Episode 2, The Race to Save Jake's Speed. Jake has a tumor, but at the same time doesn't have a tumor, and he somehow comes out of the whole ordeal with the ability to shoot lightning from his hands. That's this entire episode, courtesy of the Summarized in One Sentence post. I don't even know what else I can say about this. This is literally all it is. Jake has a tumor from some load of crap about not having something called a dimensional transistor, even though that's not a thing, and what the actual heck. So Naomi puts one in his head, and that somehow triggers something inside of him and gives him lightning powers. Yes, from now on, Jake will have lightning powers. That's how this song and dance is going, folks. Episode 3, Jake's 16th. I could swear this was a recycled plot from the Wonder Girl series. The villain's lead kidnaps Jake on his 16th birthday and incurs birthday-themed torture upon him. That's the entire episode, and it feels eerily similar to something that would have shown up in the Wonder Girl series. Trust me. Episode 4, Emilio and Annette Forever. Rose hooks up Emilio with a date on Not Tinder, and the two of them fall in love, even after Emilio has to save Annette from Eve and reveal his origins to her. Emilio proposes to Annette in the end, and she says yes. Even though it's rushed and probably wasn't thought through at all, it's still actually kind of sweet. Episode 5, The Rise of Anti-Jake. And we finally arrived. Everyone off the tour bus for a bit, because we're going to start talking about a big-name recurring character that makes his debut in this episode, Antius Lafon. Now, if you've only recently found out about this series, you probably know the current incarnation of Antius. In Lightning Speed 1, though, he was part of an entire group of characters known as the Jakes, all lookalikes of Jake. Antius was the original Anti-Jake, and in fact his actual name was Anti-Jake for a while until the name was shortened to Antius and his backstory was changed. In fact, I actually recently found an old document that detailed my original plans for Anti-Jake. This was around the point where I considered changing his name to Antius, but before certain other things in the series happened that completely blew these plans sky high. Essentially, I had planned that Anti-Jake was a clone of Jake created by Anita Lafon through something called dark DNA, and this same dark DNA also existed in Jake, thereby making Jake partially immortal or something convoluted like that. I had also decided a special certain relationship Antius gets into later in the series at this point as well, so that's cool too. Somewhere down the line, though, I decided I didn't want Antius to be any kind of Jake clone, so I scrapped that aspect and it became more coincidence that the two of them looked alike. Unfortunately, that gets really muddled when this still remains out in the open. So in this episode, Jake finds out Black Lightning is getting framed for crimes around DUBOSE, and eventually he finds out that these crimes were committed by someone that looks just like him. This person, Antius, then kills Jake's mother and runs away, and the Lightning Speed team ends up back in the orphanage because orphanage and I wasn't smart. We'll get back to Antius later, though. Antius gets a lot more interesting later. Episode 6, Running from the Government 4, FBI Imprisonment. Jake has been taken into the custody of the FBI because of his supposed connection to Black Lightning, which isn't how the law works at all, but alright, maybe it was a tip-off from Antius or something. Now, I'm going to read you the entire summary for this episode that I wrote back in 2012, just so you can realize how absolutely pointless this episode is. As Jake is being watched by the FBI, he becomes more and more fearful that they might realize his secret, and realizes that the FBI really does have his brain-proper disk. Secretly enlisting the help of Lafayette, Jake gets the disk and is able to escape the FBI, but they're far from giving up. This is only the beginning. That is actually the entire summary. And now that we're done with Season 6 and we're still running short, I'm jumping the gun and doing Season 7 too, just because I heckin' can. Season 7, Episode 1, The Interdimensional Reveal of the Century. In this episode, Timothy accidentally lets Ilya's existence slip, and everyone else has to scramble to fix things before another interdimensional war starts. But Jake's identity also gets revealed too. Whoops! After that, Jake and Naomi broadcast a message across the real world saying that Ilya is pitiful and just wants to live in peace. And everyone buys it. That's all. We have achieved dual world peace with a single illegal telecast. Good night. Episode 2, Iolana, Melian Queen. My one-sentence summary: the jungle savage does things that nobody really cares about. In this episode, Iolana finds out her African tribe back in Africa has gone to crap because, whoops, she gave the throne to the wrong person. So she goes back to Africa and takes the throne back and leaves the Lightning Speed team forever. Good. She never did anything anyway. Episode 3, Prince Alan of Palentia. Oh gosh, it might not have been a good idea to get into Season 7 right now. So Jake is out running when he's suddenly ambushed by some guy that calls himself the Chancellor, who I'm going to call Morris for convenience's sake. Morris reveals to Jake that he's captured the queen of a planet called Palentia, Queen Catherine Allen, and that he's taken things over there. Then he tries to kill Jake. Jake manages to make it out alive, and he and the team go up into space to find Pollentia and save it. When they get there, Jake is captured by Morris's troops and thrown in jail, where he quickly finds the Queen. The Queen immediately recognizes Jake and tells him that he is the true heir to the throne because she is his mother. Yep, that's right. This is the episode where Jake finds out that his parents were a lie and he's actually secretly an alien prince from another planet. How the story goes is that Morris took over Pollentia a long time ago when Jake was only just born. Jake's fake father was entrusted to take care of Jake and take him away from Pollentia to keep him out of Morris's hands. Little did she know, though, that Jake's fake father was actually an agent of Morris, tasked with keeping an eye on Jake. Morris decided he was going to let Jake live until age 16 for really no reason before he came for him. The story ends when Jake breaks the Queen out of jail and defeats Morris. The Queen exiles Morris to a deserted planet, and Jake and the others go home. Oh yeah, and Mandi kisses Jake out of nowhere. They're suddenly in a relationship now, even though they have no chemistry, and Mandi's only had 2 major appearances in the series ever. Don't worry though, this relationship barely comes up ever. You'll probably forget it's even here. Just like I did. Episode 4, Jake Speed's incredible adventure through time. Yep. Definitely not a good idea to get into Season 7 right now. So, Jake Speed's incredible adventure through time is a drug trip where Jake gets flung back in time to meet his past self, then flung forward in time with his 7-year-old self to get imprisoned by the dictatorship of the future and get rescued by his future self, who's a revolutionary in this terrible future where the dictatorship wants every single superpowered person to be eliminated. After that, they travel back to the present to get help to fight the dictatorship in the future. After an extreme out-of-character moment with Mandi where she tries to pound Jake to a pulp for ditching her while they were talking, Jake decides it would be an absolutely perfect idea to recruit help from Uhulu. Jake, you have a team of like a bajillion people that could all help you in this situation, yet you're throwing them all to the wayside for complete strangers that have an obsession with worshipping you. Jake has an ego the size of the sun. So everyone ships out to Uhulu. I don't know about this, guys. I'm with Mandi. I have a bad feeling about this. Relax. These people worship me. What could go wrong? That would be the official jinx. That means you have less than 10 minutes before things take a turn for the worst. When they arrive on Uhulu, they find out that the other god the Jake opposers had been worshipping is an actual demonic entity and it's been killing people across the island. There it is. What? The jinx. I told you. Jake facepalms. So Jake goes to see the demon, because I should be clear on the fact that he is not a god actually, and it doesn't go well. The demon taunts Jake, knocks him out, then shows off his victory to everyone on the island, then kills Jake by burying him alive. Psych! Jake didn't die, he's just in an underground air pocket. What's a physics anyway? So Jake makes his way out from the underground with more impossible fake physics. Jake shoots a lightning bolt straight up, obliterating the dirt above and expanding the air pocket. That'll work. And finds his future self sleeping under a tree. Only whoops! The cops from the future are here and they kill future Jake. That's not cool, you guys. So Jake makes his way all the way back to America, then decides he doesn't actually want his friends' help and uses his future self's time machine device to travel back to the future. He meets some unimportant character named Petal who helps him get to the dictator, but he can't win, so he goes back to the past and is like, yeah, I can fix the future from here. The end. We didn't even get past Jake back to the past either. What a shame. Episode 5, A Day in Someone Else's Shoes. Jake and Rose make a bet that they couldn't live each other's lives, so GWILITH takes them up on it and switches their bodies for a day just because he can. And also, they're back in high school, pre-Season 7 status, because wow, we definitely needed that to come back, huh? Also, there's a Sadie Hawkins dance because high school awkwardness that I absolutely hate. The only interesting part of the whole ordeal is when Delia attacks during the dance and Jake and Rose have to learn how to use each other's powers to defeat her. Too bad the rest of it is so hecking bad. Also, GWILITH's a really hecking good sport for being a maniacal supervillain, am I right? Episode 6, The World of GWILITH. Actually, no. We're saving this one for next time, because next time we're starting the GWILITH saga. See you then.